And they get reminded 210 times a day on their phone that they're not participating in this exceptional prosperity. So I think they're enraged. I think they go on the hunt for fake oppressors. And I think it's spilled over into a campus where DEI, quite frankly, is beginning to eat its own tail and has become like Cersei in Game of Thrones, is the evil that it initially wanted to combat.
What happens next? What needs to happen next?
There needs to be, I mean, the only thing worse than being a Trump defense attorney right now is to be a campus leadership. I do feel for them. And I do believe that, and unfortunately it doesn't make for good media, that the majority of the protests have been civil and peaceful. Mm-hmm. And we need to continue the proud legacy of protecting people's rights to free speech. And also just on a human level, as the father of teenagers, and I know you're this as well, Chris, teenager and idiot are synonyms. The point of campus and college is that they have the right to explore their intellectual freedom, say obnoxious things, make mistakes, learn from them, and grow into productive citizens. And I believe that many, if not most of these people, these protests, I hope for them that will happen. But we need to draw sharp relief between people peacefully protesting, even if we don't like what they're saying, and anyone that inhibits or the ability or harasses any other student who also has rights to an education. And where I see the anti-Semitism, quite frankly, and I've said this before, if I went down to the plaza of any of these universities in a white hood and started saying, lynch the blacks, and I in any way harass black students, or, as happened at UCLA today, gave armbands out to everyone but black people, and then inhibited the ability of black people to access university buildings, I would believe there wouldn't be a hand-wringing conversation about First Amendment or context or nuance. I think they would have called in the National Guard. Free speech is never freer when it turns to hate speech against Jews. So sharp relief between civil protest, which I'd like to think most of this is, and swift response, arrest and or expulsion to harassment or encampments. And then more sharp relief, I have absolutely no patience or empathy for any faculty that lacks the critical thinking to in any way empathize with an ideology that, should it gain traction in the United States, would mean that the majority of these students would either be thrown off a roof or summarily executed. They have the right to free speech. We as private organizations have the right to fire them. And I would absolutely advocate for their immediate dismissal. They are not 19.
You bring up what we saw essentially in the 60s when people didn't want blacks to matriculate into these schools. And it is no small irony that disproportionately represented in the resistance to that hate were the Jews. The Jews align themselves with the cause of American blacks uniquely so. And they paid money, blood, and treasure to fight that. And many Jews are telling me now, yeah, we did it because we knew we'd be next. And I never thought in America that I'd be hearing what I'm hearing from Jewish people, and I do not think it's hysterical. I do not think it's paranoid. I do not think it's false panic. I think it's different when it's the Jews. The only justification, last point for you, the Jews are not the blacks. As you referred earlier, David and Goliath. Black Americans had the systemic oppression, they had cultural oppression, they had racial oppression against them. The Jews are seen as the masters of their own fate and the masters over the fate of the Palestinians. And that's why the students are targeting them, because they are the oppressor. Fair analysis.
I think the analysis is fair, but you can type in anti-Semitism and then any century in the last 3,000 years, and you're just going to see multiple examples of why people always find a reason why 0.2% of the population is responsible for the Russian aristocracy's crimes or an economically impaired Germany. And a lot of people have been comparing this to 1968. I would compare it to 1938. And that is, Germany in the 30s was a progressive society with a thriving gay community, wonderful universities with celebrated Jewish academics, and then it became fashionable to start blaming the Jews. It became fashionable to put on a brown shirt and start harassing students at the University of Vienna. And Chris, and you and I have talked about this, on October the 6th, if someone had said, what is the state of anti-Semitism in the US? I would have said it doesn't exist. I was totally blind and immune to it. And as an atheist and someone who has never felt much of a connection to Judaism or to Israel, I see this as the most anti-American activity I have seen since they tried to hold that girl out of school in the 60s. There is no excuse for this. Moderates like you, moderates like me, I would invite everyone to step out of the dark, as you said in your opening, and voice your opinion. We were too quiet 90 years ago. This is the most distinct of what you think of Judaism or the actions of Israel. What is going on here is so un-American. We try and produce on campus for critical thinkers who will lead our nation and invite special interest groups into the fold of the greatest prosperity and freedoms ever enjoyed on this green earth, and that is the United States of America. This is not only anti-Semitic, it is incredibly un-American.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.